right, recording. Come on, OBS, don't do this to me. Of course. Of course. I swear. I swear. Hold on. So we're recording. Not streaming yet. I don't know why. There are truly gremlins in the machine.
You're good, dude.
Streaming. There we go. And so we are streaming on. Actually, somebody just told me before this to wait until it says I'm streaming because I always get cut off mid-sentence, so I'll wait. Okay, now it's streaming on Tuesday, January 28th, 2025 at 1:09 p.m. Eastern time, with Mr. Christian Ascania, you and I. So I saw you made as many a good shows begin and guest relationships begin, where I just see something on Twitter that I enjoy and I reach out and I'm like, hey, do my show. Um, but you had made or you had posted whatever it was for everybody listening, your Twitter's in the description. You had made something. It was basically along the lines of like why do schizo edits work? Why does a fast pace just of of like for lack of a better word 1950s America, like nuclear family, as well as just like for us white history, conquering, reading, Galileo and working out and having a family and Christmas and just with normally like some early to late 2000s EDM music to it, and it's just pounding in your mind. And there's a zillion like memes, there's a zillion, whatever, that are all fun, and memes get traction, obviously, because there's some level of truth to them. They deliver it very efficiently, and that's why they get traction. But there is something, and I think it's what you said in that post. It's like, but why does it have that extra? And this could just be confirmation bias that you and I both believe it, so therefore we're talking about it. But why does it have that like tug? There is something about them that they're more than just like a hype video. It's like why is hearing like an EDM club remix of Better Off Alone to, some dude with a machine gun? Why does that tug at you? And it is, I think what you said is it's like blood memories. There's something in you that knows that like this whole thing we're in right now isn't like the real meat of life. The real meat of life is a partner, is a lifelong wife, a husband, is having a family, is, you know, raising kids and teaching them what's right and what's wrong. It's not how many followers do you have? It's not how much money do you have? And it tugs at something. It's like, you come from a long line of this, and there's something in you that is saying, like, this isn't where you're supposed to be. And it taps into you. I think he said it's like it's MK Ultra level bunker buster right into the cerebellum, like right into the reptilian brain. It goes something is like this is what you're for, and it does. In 10 seconds, it can do more than 20 years of like anti-white propaganda can do. It really is impressive. So
Yeah,
I'm gonna
I
stop rambling and introduce yourself for everybody, and then we'll just jump into it.
yeah. For those that don't know me, I'm Christian Ascania, and like Tommy had said, my Twitter is in the description. And I met him on Twitter, and yeah, he just messaged me, said to do his show, and I was super down for it, especially talking about this type of topic. And what I think we're seeing is we're seeing a rebellion against the modern world. So, like, if you were to show like, I show my dad stuff, and like he thinks it's cool and everything like that, or and I'll show my grandpa, and it's like, okay, yeah, like that's cool, dude, but it doesn't really resonate with them on a deep level. And I think that's because to a certain degree they built the world that we're rebelling against. So
Mm,
they don't see the issues of modernity. They don't see the issues with the happy wife, happy life mentality, right? It's happy man, happy land, happy wife, happy life, right?
yeah.
So it's a both type of thing. And so what it is amongst young men, especially amongst young white men, right? Where we see something and we're told our whole lives that we're basically the scum of the earth, that our ancestors were nothing but slavers and abusers, and all they did was raid and hurt people. When in reality, we circumnavigated the entire planet. We conquered lands in Africa, in the Americas, in in Polynesia, and down in Australia, Indonesia. We went across the entire globe, and there's something that is in our genes that is hell bent on exploring and learning things that are new and standing up for against tyranny, and that's something that has been kind of lost. And so when you see these images to these music with these messages, you compare what we are now compared to what it was back then, and you realize that there's something insanely wrong with the way the world is currently. And it's almost like it creates a feeling of nostalgia, a feeling of missing something you've never experienced, but
Hmm.
your ancestors and our ancestors have experienced it, and that really resonates with us. And you when you see it, you can't just help thinking, I want that to be me. And I think that's the draw to it.
And you can feel it, and like we get little echoes of it, even like playing like video games like Helldivers or something or whatever. Battlefield, pick your poison, and it's you and your buddies, and like one of them's downed, and there's no way in hell you're gonna successfully revive them. But you can't fathom just like running to the exfil point without them. Even though it's a video game, it's not real. Doesn't matter how many like potential rewards you're about to lose or how many upgrades you're about to lose. That there is something about just like fuck it, we ball. And, like you just like and like but even that, just like surrendering yourself for group cohesion. It's like this tiny little like burp of something that's inside, and it's like you want something that's worth defending, right?
Yeah,
Like,
absolutely. And I think another you brought up like more towards like a group thinking versus an individual thinking, and I think individual thinking's great, but what you have is you have on a bunch of individuals thinking things without considering the entire group, right? And so our generation or our generation and the coming generation is a lot more collective in their thinking, a lot more tribal in their thinking, where we are looking also back to the roots of our ancestors and wanting that to be restored back to what it was. And so yeah, when you the video game is a good comparison. And I think that a lot of people who play video games today, it's like it really is a they want a sense of adventure, and these are the type of people that would probably be out there going on adventures. And there is a need for brotherhood that has been lost, and that brotherhood is, again, that's something that's genetic within us. And that's why, like you said, even if you're playing Battlefield or something and your friend is down, it's like you're not just going to leave him there. There's something in your mind that says, look, like we either live together or we die together. And I think that's been lost in a selfish culture.
it's also, I would imagine, be engineered out. If you didn't want, if you didn't want the US for all of its problems, right? Most powerful economy, most powerful military, separated by two oceans, filled with natural resources, and again, for all of its drawbacks, promotes individual liberty more so than any other empire. And if you wanted a global tyranny, you'd have to take that down. That's the first thing you'd want to take down because that's the bulwark against you. Well, I mean, if you can't go up against it tank for tank, plane for plane, you would attack it in almost endless number of different ways. Financially, biologically, I guess, cattle-ly, electrically, like you would hit everything. But I think one thing you would do is demoralize the people to the point where, because normally, like, so, like, excuse me, if you can wear down an enemy and siege them and assault them and, just attack the castle relentlessly, they're eventually going to have their last stand where they know they're not going to survive. And you know, you have a pretty good chance, the attacker, that they're not going to survive. You know, they're going to go out brutally, but they're going to hold off. They're going to have an Alamo. In a truly evolved battle tactic, something where it's not a battle that happens over 12 hours, but rather, I don't know, a Marxist long march through the institutions that happens over a century. One thing you would want to do is aside from attack it in all these different ways, you would also want to break apart the people inside to the point where they didn't want to last stand it. They didn't want to say, hey guys, the rest of the world's invading. China's off this coast. Europe's off this coast. They're coming in, you know, fuck it, we ball, lock everything, walk around. It was on our serving with you. We're going out blazing. You don't, and again, in kind of modern warfare, it doesn't even necessarily mean guns blazing. It could mean, I'm not moving jobs overseas. We're going down with the ship. This is my country. You would want to destroy that love of the homeland that would make you do these heroic, selfless, you know, we die together kind of things. That's what you would want. So when you do have that final siege, you don't have fanatic barbarians going like, we're going down with the ship. You'd want people that would be like, yeah, maybe I'll move to Brazil. That way you could just push it over. And I think that's what we've gotten very cl and again, so it's like, well, then why do these, for lack of a better term, schizo addicts hit you? Because it hits you in that, like, that's what you should be doing. Like there is something wholly content and complete about getting married, having kids, raising a family, enjoying the holidays, being a good role model. If you can, give back to your community and die. That's not a bad life. That's an incredible life. And these outliers of do you own a yacht, that happens to statistically nobody. And I think what I know, at least what I feel when I see these like edits is like you don't need to go out searching all over the world for pleasure or for value or validation. Like it can come from just the most basic things. Just a loving home.
Yeah,
And yeah.
for sure. I think what you said about pleasure is like the main thing. Is like we're taught to just, go, do drugs and, you know, be immoral, go to parties, and just do what makes you happy, do what you feel like doing in the moment. These things are going to make you happy. And yet you have a generation of men, and at least previously, I think it's changed now, where they haven't actually been happy, right? There's not actually a true level of content. And it's because the most basic fundamental things that build a society and make a man feel like a man is exploration, is working out in nature, is having a wife and then many children and continuing his bloodline, where these things are really, really simple yet powerful truths that have expanded throughout time and throughout all eternity. And it's the most basic things are the most omitted by our leaders. They're the most omitted by our scholars, by our teachers, and they have a whole what I see is a whole different and conflicting value system between our generation and the generations before us. Like, I feel like our grandfathers and fathers would think, okay, the best thing not to do is don't to be kind and nice. Where we would think you have to be strong and honorable, and like and I don't think that even the conservatives, it's like they don't really conserve anything, right? They allowed, you know same sex marriage, they allowed, all these things to happen, and they're just okay with it, and they're just okay with degeneracy. And they didn't teach us, they didn't instill in us that explorative idea. And what these schizo edits do, and these it's like personalized MK Ultra. It's like your algorithm on TikTok and Facebook and Instagram and Twitter, and X, whatever you consume, it's going to feed you more of. And when you change your algorithm and you look at and you realize that these schizo edits, what they're doing is they're pushing men to be a certain type of way, it starts to feed you more and more and more. and you look at the world and you're like, wait, this place doesn't have to be the way it is. It actually isn't even that hard to change. There just has to be a shift in the value system. And I think that shift is happening. And I think when, we as we grow old and we have our own families and we have our own children, I think those values are going to be instilled. And I truly believe we're going to have a societal change in the next 10 to 15 years. My predictions and it's don't, exactly hold me to this, but I guess rather than predictions, I wouldn't be surprised if in the next 10 to 15 years that women lost the right to vote. I wouldn't be surprised seeing that. I wouldn't be surprised if no fault divorce became illegal. Um, I wouldn't be surprised if there's pushes in some states to make it so only white straight males who own property can vote again. And so I think, and or at least so if these things don't at least happen, what there's going to be is there's going to be cultural shifts pushing for societal changes in these directions. Because instead of asking ourselves what's fair for other people, what we're saying is, okay, what's right? What is the right thing to do? Does no fault divorce help society or does it destroy it? It destroys it. Okay, we don't want it. Okay, does same-sex marriage, does it help society or does it destroy it? Oh, it destroys it. Okay, we're going to get rid of that. Right? So there's going to be a shift less on what is what is pushing the culture towards degeneracy and pushing it back towards tradition, back towards culture, back towards family. Because at the end of the day, I truly believe this is going to save our country. And I believe the young men today are probably the most special young men in history. I believe that God sent us here at this time, at this place, to protect our nation, to protect the ways of our ancestors, to restore our people. I really do believe that we have the most special generation of young men in history, in the greatest country in history. And there's been multiple prophecies that in the last days that the kind, I don't know if you're religious or not, but if you are, that in the last days that the Constitution would hang by a thread, and that the young men of that generation would save it. And I believe that we are those young men, and I believe that we are that generation, and I really do believe that the world is about to change for the better. So I'm also a big proponent of white pilling, and I think these schizo edits and this positive propaganda is going to push society towards prosperity. And I really do believe that we're going to hit a golden age, regardless of who's president or anything like that. But even though I like Trump. I think he's overall a good president. And I think that's going to help with this golden age. But I don't think he should be getting credit, to be honest. I really do believe it's the young men that are going to shift the culture. And I think that's going to have a bigger effect on policy than who's in office.
I think Trump should get a decent amount of credit, but not all of it. And I also think that, young men alive today should get a decent amount of credit, but not all of it. But I think you and I are in agreement with that. Yeah,
Yep.
it does seem to be that it is an interesting thing. And it's a tough pill to swallow, and it is revisionist. I really think ultimately what saved this country and what will save the world is the fact that the 2020 election was stolen. I I, I think a second term Trump then would have been a first term Trump, just maybe a little more intense, but not a whole lot more. I think having it stolen so clearly in everyone's face, having his house raided by the FBI with orders to shoot to kill, with the mugshot, the 34 or whatever felonies, the clearly orchestrated security stand down to blow his head off. Man, I think that it's like if a disease gets in an organism, like it has to kill it. And the closer, and it's weird because if a disease enters your body and it like only, I guess, kills, like brings your health down to 95%, like you're a little, you fight back and you're a little more robust from it. But the closer you get to killing something without actually killing it, the farther back the slingshot goes. So the closer you get to death, like the more insane your immunity is if you survive. Like you've become hardened in the forge. I think that's what happened. I think they would have been so much better off if they just let him win in 2020, obstructed him, did more, bioweapon, BLM shit. It escalated it in Ukraine, and then they would just be done with Trump. If they had just done that, they would now be finished with Trump. But because they didn't, I think that the slingshot is now going to whip back at like close to the speed of light. Like it's gonna be wild. And you know, you can't scold the path that got you to the summit. If this is what eventually leads to such a massive cultural shift that again, that we go back to what you and I are talking about isn't fantastical. Just like, yeah, a community with kids. Like it's not we're not saying we just have to build a space elevator. That would be cool. I think that's what's going to cause it. But then also back to the exploration thing, I think it is, and this is where I'll give Elon credit is, he's always said he said multiple times on Rogan, and he said when he did that interview with Trump on Twitter this past summer, was that like you do like yes, you need all of your material concerns taken care of, like the hierarchy of needs. You need all that. But then as a larger thing, there has to be societal civilizational goals. There have to be attraction points on the horizon. There have to be like gravity densities that pull you forward. Like for me, it's always, how can I improve the podcast? Excuse me. It's how can I make it better? What am I doing next? Even I always have to have a video game I play just so I always have to be solving a problem. Like how do I move forward? How do I get it next? Because it's less about the actual thing I'm solving. Like I'm playing Kerbal Space Program right now. Like nothing's gonna come out of me figuring out on a 32-bit video game how to send a rocket up. Like there's nothing tangible is coming to the podcast. But what it does is when I wake up and when I'm at the gym, even when I'm doing podcasts, I have something that I'm thinking about. I'm like, how will I get that second stage to separate without blowing up? And it pulls me forward. It's like a bowling ball on a trampoline. It pulls me forward. Or if it's the podcast, or if it's dating, or if it's even just looking forward to the next holiday. Like now it's cold in Maine. I'm looking forward to summer to just have these little things that even if you're like, yeah, I know once I get it, it's not like I'm going to be happy, but there is something about it that pulls you forward. And I do think in this case, it's space exploration. It's like we're going to Mars. It's like, why? Like, realistically, why? I don't know. I mean, and there will be trickle down space technology. There'll probably be huge economic benefits in ways we can't fathom. I would imagine like asteroid mining or something, or zero gravity fabrication. And maybe there's something that happens in zero gravity that's much more efficient than here on Earth. But you do have to have a thing that pulls you forward. So it's like you do have to have the home, the happy home that's not being, overrun by 50 IQ cannibal migrants. Like you do have to have that free speech, own your guns, all that. But then there does have to be like that shining thing on the surface where it's like we're going to Mars. It it's good for you. It pulls you forward. It is to go forth and explore. What happens when we get to Mars? Set up spaceport there. Then we're going to, Mercury. It's just it's go forth. And I think that that's actually a perfect pairing with what's going on right now because otherwise I mean, let's pair it with the previous paradigm, right? It's hate yourself, white guilt, your ancestors were demons, don't have kids, all of this. God is bad, genders are bad, nothing is right, there is no objective morality. Also paired with it's not a mistake that there was also no we're going to Mars. It was get off oil, we're going to windmills. And after windmills, we're going to just, you know, I don't, solar or pare down. You don't need a muscle car, you need a weaker car. You need a car that only has this. You need to eat less. You need less meat. You have to have this weird lab-grown imitation. Everything was just paring down. From like purely if you were just observing the biosphere as an alien with no concept of our culture or anything, and you were just monitoring it, you'd be like, and if you had been monitoring us for 10,000 years, you'd say for the first time in history, they're actually, their power sources are getting, the energy density is less. They've never done this before. It's always been more. It's always been economies of scale. You can afford this. Henry Ford, everyone gets a car, a chicken in every pot. Like it was always about moving in skyscrapers. We're going to build taller and bigger and faster and airlines and, the space program. And, we're going to go to the moon before the end of this decade. We're going to beat the Soviets. It's not a coincidence that the self-hatred and the you suck and your ancestors suck and you shouldn't have families and it's evil to want to be married with kids was also paired with, and you got to use less electricity. We got to farm less. It all is, I mean, it's a dying, it's a rotting within. So I don't think it's coincidental that the inverse of that is pride in your country, pride in your ancestry, pride in who you are, strong borders, jobs back home. I don't think it's a coincidence that that is also paired with, and we were going to Mars. I think that it's just, so then it comes back to what you said earlier. It's not like these things are difficult. All it requires is a shift in mindset. And we have been bombarded by propaganda for decades, if not well over a century, to do just the opposite of what we want to do. And I think to tie it all back in, that's where the schizo edits come back. They just prod you a little bit. And the value of truth is that you can be bombarded with like anti-human propaganda for your whole life. I'm 34. They have to do it very slowly because it is so unnatural and against your internal desire. So you have to boil the frog very slowly. The beauty of truth is that, man, it just comes in like a fucking locomotive on fire. You can undergo 30 years of you're bad, your ancestors are bad, you should hate yourself, and then one 20-second clip just blindside you, and it's like get married, have a ton of kids, have a dog, own land, farm, or going to Mars. It blows you out entirely. And I think that's where we have an advantage is all it requires is a very simple shift in mindset. We don't need new technology to do this. We don't need to find out how to build homes again. We don't have to rediscover what marriage vows are. We can do all of it. It just requires a slight shift on the knob. We just have to zoop, go to the different radio station. And so, I think that's where these edits do come in is it can shift you back in. I know I've been rambling, so I'll hand it over to you.
You're good, dude. Yeah, you're absolutely right. A 20-second video has been more powerful than over a century of propaganda and brainwashing. And it is really interesting to me that that happens. And what's cool about it is it's not just you that feels that way, right? It's not just you. It's I feel the same way. It's most of my brothers, my cousins, my uncles feel the same way. My friends and family, they feel the same way when they look at things like that. Even now I've noticed now that men are starting to make this shift, you're also watching young women make the shift as well. I've seen way more young women, and my girlfriend included, where they are geared way towards traditional values, way geared towards, hey, I want a farm, I want horses, I want cattle, I want chickens, and I just want a river to ride my horse next to, and I just want to live a simple life, and I just want to be happy. And you have that's being protected by men that have something worth dying for. And I think another advantage we have is that we also have built up anger and resentment for what they've done for the last 120 years. For what they've done, they're they have they have taken the home of our ancestors. They have taken the land and the soil of where my ancestors' blood is in, and they have corrupted it, and they have promoted degeneracy, and they have promoted atheism, and they have promoted uh, immorality on a scale that we haven't seen, in so much that look what they're doing to children with hormone blockers and all these things. There is, whether there is, by God, not by us, but there is a retribution coming for these people. And I think that is also another good thing for us, in the sense that what we can do is we can analyze the last 120 years. And we now know, we have the history to prove it, what happens when these ideologies are implemented. We know what happens when the collective gets lost with the individual, or we know what happens when people just focus on pleasure. We know what happens when people just do what they feel is right, irrespective of what is good for the general nation. And then that begs the question, well, what is a nation? And in my opinion, a nation is a people from a common ancestry, a common language with common architecture and a common religion, who come together and establish laws based around that identity. And what we've been told is America is an idea. America is, it's an idea where anybody can participate in. And it's like, no, sorry. America is a people. America is a tribe. America is a nation. You take away Americans, you don't have an America, right? And so we have this idea, and now we have, with immigration, even legal immigration, everyone who comes here has their own version of what America means. Everyone has their own idea on what an American means to them. There's no unifying principle other than things are ununifiable. That what's good for you is good for you. Like you said earlier, there's no objective truth. And the subjective truth types, it's easy to say, well, how about this? This is our subjective truth. Here in America, we are of primarily Northwestern European descent. We speak English. Our architecture is patterned after Rome, and we will not tolerate any change in that. If you want to be here, and you want to benefit from our society, you want to benefit from our civilization, and you want to benefit from what we have, that's fine. But you do not get a say in how or what we are. We are a people, and I think there is a change back to these standards, back to this idea, and back to this value system. And as time goes on, right now, schizo and dude, one thing I found out is that these things have existed for like the last 30 years, 35 years.
Oh, yeah, I saw
But
you. I saw. Yeah, I think that was in that post. You're like, people have done these and they've toiled in obscurity and they've gotten out just
yeah,
by chance.
and that, so that means that, dude, there's been people for the
Yeah.
last 30 years that have been knowing this, and this, and now that when Elon bought Twitter, that was, you realize how censored we were by Facebook. You realize how censored we were by Instagram, where the only way to access these types of information was on the fringes of 4chan, which most people don't even know about or anything. But now that it's broken forth into the mainstream, dude, they've opened up the floodgates, and I really do believe the world's never going to be the same now. I really do believe that.
It's great that these existed because that implies like it's like when people would discover two things, like uncontacted people would discover the same thing on different sides of the world. Like or I guess that's not because that's Pythagoras, but like a form of light or medicine. So when people have that implies that there's an objective truth that they've both stumbled upon. And it brings up the question of, and I don't even know where I fall. I think I do. Um, it brings up the question of it's like there is no like mutual, agree to disagree. If and they steal an election, when they release a bioweapon, when they burn down cities for a dude that died on fentanyl, when they come after your kids and they send the FBI after home school meetings and they try to blow Trump's head off and they try to walk us into World War III and they destroy the border and they destroy, the entire egg farmers. and you start realizing like, hey man, there is no like agree to disagree. It is now zero sum. And you can say, well, I don't like that, I don't want to be in that world. Hey, I get it, but it's the world you found yourself in. And it's just what it is. And it can be your dog that you've had for 10 years. But if your dog gets rabies, that's no longer your dog. It's now trying to kill you. And it's not the dog that you love and that you have all the little pictures of. It's an animal you have to go. You might say, well, I don't like this. And it's yeah, well, it sucks, but your dog has rabies now. You need to shoot it because it's going to kill you. It's just what it is. You don't have to like it. This is the simulation, the earth, the reality you found yourself in. You are now confronted with this decision, and it doesn't matter how much you like it or don't like it. You now have to deal with it. It's like the quote. It may not be your fault, but it is your responsibility now. So with that, it also comes to, people saying before Trump won, like, hey, steel yourselves, plant your feet. Like when there are deportations, they're gonna try to hit you with every, but look at this child crying, and they're gonna tug at your heartstrings because these people are demons from hell. But what you have to remember is that one, the parents put these kids in that position. Yes, you can feel for the kid, you can pray for the kid. The parents are pieces of shit for putting the kid in that position. They also, don't forget, they like to quiet and silence anytime there's a story about, teen. Well, we all know what teen means. Raped and killed this girl or that girl or stabbed this boy. They hate you. The people that they're bringing here hate you, and the people who are doing the bringing hate you. So all this comes down to there's a moment where you can say, hey, I love Jesus and do unto others. You can also say, but at a certain point, you are confronted, and God, this isn't by accident, by the way. God has presented you with this problem. So God didn't give you something that you can't solve. He presented you with this problem. And you can still be a Christian, as Joe Dolio says, the military guy does tactical wisdom. No, the Bible says thou shalt not murder. It doesn't say that you shall not kill. You can defend yourself. Everything I'm saying is kind of, I guess for me, it's more of like my own evolution through the life of this 5 year podcast is, hey, like there is no kumbaya outcome. I wish there was. I truly, with all of my heart, wish that tomorrow we declassified fusion technology, limitless energy, and food and water for everyone on Earth. Of course I do. I would love for that to be the case. It's not the case. You have to take care of your own, and they have shown you who they are. It is now on you if you don't take care of your own. So I'm saying all of that to say MK Ultra, right? Do you just dissolve it and say this is what's been used for the last 60, 70 years, Operation Mockingbird, blah, blah, blah? The NDAA 2012, the Smith-Mundt Act, all the back from COVID, all the back doors of the DHS and the FBI through Twitter and Instagram and blah, 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 blah. Do you just, sure, your first response could be we're just killing that outright. Just shoot the demon. This is anti-freedom. Sure, it's not a bad choice. The next would be, do you take that thing that has, you have to respect your enemy, very successfully ran a good propaganda campaign for our lives and for our parents' lives, if not our grandparents' lives. Do you then take that machine and instead of destroying it, do you start putting the inputs that you want? Pro family, pro or anti child genital mutilation, pro job staying on our soil, pro national identity, pro a country worth fighting for. That solves your recruiting problem, by the way. And I don't know. That's a tricky question. And I hate to be some like Reddit like Marvel fucking loser, but it's like Lord of the Rings. It's like destroy the ring. Like no, thinks he can use it for good or whatever. He's corrupted or whatever. And it's like no, you got to just destroy it. Okay, that is a thought. Or is it something like the atomic bomb where you go, if we don't develop it first, someone else will, and we'd rather have it and try to use it for good. That's a big question. I don't know if I have the answer. I think I come down on the side of no, you do have to use it. It's zero sum world. Fuck them. But it's not the movie Watchmen, but the graphic novel. The rich Ozymandias guy. He's kind of like an Elon Musk character. He's running he owns all these different media companies through shell corporations. And at the end of the book, when he does like the false flag, which causes world peace, he's standing in front of this huge wall of TVs in his lair, and he like directs his people. He's like, all right. He essentially says, change the propaganda. He goes, there's got to be now that because before it, he had this brand. I'm just not remembering. He had a brand, I think, called Nostalgia. And this guy in the book's just a zillionaire. And he's always selling colognes. Like, remember how good things were, but it was always don't be here now. Remember how good things were. And then after he does like the crescendo, he does like a false flag to get the U.S. and Soviets to stop fighting. He then goes, all right, I want to see ads for diapers, for baby formula, for school buses, lots of pictures of parents holding kids near a Christmas tree, elementary schools. Start saving for he's basically saying like rebirth. We're now growing. Is that what you do? Do you destroy the propaganda machine, the MK Ultra saturated media system?
Well,
Because you can destroy it and it will eventually come back, or do you go, no, we're not destroying the gun. I'm going to take the gun and use it for my own ends. I'm kind of, I think 5 years ago, I would have been like, no, destroy it. It's going to lead to corruption. Now I'm like, dial it up, get married, have kids. Only fans should be shamed. It's a zero sum game. So and you don't have the answer either. I don't think any of us do. We can have our opinions, but not the answer. But I think it should be. I think it should be used. Yeah. And I could be wrong.
yeah, brother. I'm under the impression also that it should be used. And I don't think it's going anywhere for one. So I think no matter what we do, it's
Yeah.
here to stay,
Yeah.
right? Yeah. And at the same time, if you look at how much that stuff is being censored, like I posted something on X the other day and it got banned in Germany and it got banned in other European countries. Um, I said why I just posted a video of, some people in Germany and during World War II, and I said why would a dictator want their people, which I wasn't referring to anyone specific. It was literally just posing a question. Why would a dictator want their people healthy, fit, and strong? Or would a dictator want their people fat and ugly and weak, right? And so and it was just a question. I wasn't even making an opinion on anything. And I thought that was a fair question. And what I didn't understand was it's like you start to think about that and you're like, wait, do our people want us healthy and strong? Do our people want us good? Do our people want us believing in God? Do our leaders want that? And the answer in general is no. And then it makes you so now what we can do is we can look back at history. We can reassess who was good and who was bad. And we need to ramp up the MK Ultra because what it's going to do is it's going to promote family values way faster than a system without that MK Ultra could. So we're in for a perfect storm, right? We have uh 100 years of lies and demoralization. And then, like you said, they should have just let Trump win. They should have just let Trump win. He would have done what he was going to do. There would be, you know what I mean? They'd have some problems or so-called problems according to them that they'd have to fix afterwards. But at the end of the day, it's like, okay, they would be done with Trump. It would be a regular Democratic Democratic 8 years, then you have a Republican for 8 years, and then it goes 8 years Democrat again, and 8 years Republican again. I'm not sure after Joe Biden that I don't even know if another Democrat has the possibility or has the opportunity of winning again. Like, I really don't think there'll ever be another Democrat president ever again. So we'll see what happens, man. It's super interesting. I think that, yeah, like I said, I don't think we're ever going to have another Democrat president again. They should have just let him win. The MK Ultra machine is here, and we're just going to keep using it and to promote family values, family traditions, and there's nothing they can do to stop it. So I'm excited.
Yeah, and I'm I'm with you where again, I think 5 years ago I would have been like I would have been a purist. I would have been like, no, destroy it. Versus now I'm like, no, it's total war. Um, but it's also it's a good point you brought up is it's also not going away. There's no destroying it. It's not a physical location that you can bomb. It's a methodology. It's infiltration and subversion and pushing a message. That's not going away. It's we tried North Vietnam. We tried the bomb and ideology, and we did a pretty good job, but it clearly didn't work. I don't think there is any getting rid of it. Sure, you can maybe delete it at like the apex level with like state power behind it. That will just revive the next time a new president's in. So we might as well completely take control of it. And it's also, I think, the most important part of like if we're just wargaming how to use this sort of MK Ultra propaganda system. What you have to do is also make it profitable, right? It's like people saying, "Oh, Zuckerberg had a change of heart." Zuckerberg didn't have a change of heart, but I also think that's a good thing because what it tells me is that he's not a true believer. He's just a capitalist. It is much more easy to work with a capitalist. If he's a true believer, man, you got to fight a living, breathing communist. Versus if he's a capitalist or, Tim Cook from Apple or Bezos from Amazon, they're all just coming over and kissing the ring. It's not that I'm not naive. They've had changes of heart. They're MAGA. No, they're not. But that also
Yeah,
tells me though is they're
they
not.
just see where the culture is going.
So my point is I would much rather, I mean, ideally they would all be true believers in America, but I would much rather have someone who's just a whore for a bottom line than someone who's true Marxist. So what that tells me is let's go back to like Thanksgiving-ish. Um, they when Apple aired that like pro family, pro Christmas ad. And I think Subaru did one as well. And everyone was like, this is a definite vibe shift. It's no more 900-pound, tatted up, blue-haired monsters. It was just like a dad holding a baby and the kids laughing. And I think the way to make sure that it grows roots is because let's say Trump uses it for let's say a Democrat does get it in for let's just say it does happen. They could then take that machine and dial it the other way. I think what you want to do is use that machine and then make it profitable for other private, powerful billionaire citizens who then have an incentive for it to continue. They then go, no, we're making a lot of money off these ads we're making a lot of money off like back to school shit for, minivans or, kids' iPads or whatever. You want to make it an incentive for them because then it has staying power. So you get the cultural shift, but then it also has a place of like, no, we're making a lot of money off this. I'm now going to lobby for this to continue. I think that's how you do it. And so it's not just all feel good. Yeah, no, switch it over to pro family. I think what you want to do is to make it grow roots. And those roots are make it a very powerful column in the bottom lines of some trillion-dollar multinational corporations that are not, again, they're spineless, but I would rather work with a spineless person than a true Marxist. I'd rather have Zuckerberg going, yeah, no, we're getting record profits off this whole pro family thing. Yeah, I'll I'll make that deal. Why wouldn't I? If that's what's going to work in the long run, I'll make that deal all day. So, you know, I don't know, and but it definitely, I'd say I'm optimistic, and I have not been optimistic in a very long time. And I always have to be optimistic. I'm like you. I force the white pill no matter what because above all else, I think black pilling is just gay and it gives victory to the devil and the devil's a faggot, so fuck him. But it's also like now I think I actually like feel the white pill in my bones. It's no more I'm just saying something. I'm like, no, I actually think this is turning around. I think something beautiful is about to happen. So, um, yeah, those are my thoughts on that.
Yeah,
So,
I definitely agree with you on that. I think that taking the realistic approach to look, there's going to be billionaires, and we live in to some degree a technocratic society, right? And
No,
you're
we
right.
do.
And these people are just, you're right. They're spineless. They're gonna go, if the wind blows left, they're gonna go left. If the wind blows right, they're gonna go right. But the lucky thing for us is, the wind has been slowly blowing left for the last 100 years, and now it's about to hurricane itself to the right. And
Yeah.
so our what we can do now is just simply use that to our advantage. So if we can get these spineless, money grabbing, money hungry, power hungry pricks to support family values, then so be it. Like
Yeah.
as long as
Yeah.
that promotes something good, you're not gonna, until we can maybe set up some tribunals to perhaps punish them for the crimes they have committed. But until then it is what it is, and we need to use it to our advantage. I agree wholeheartedly on that.
Yeah. Baby steps. It's Yeah, people are like, I don't trust Zuckerberg. I'm like, don't be a purist to the point where you hurt your own cause. Understand that he's not true. He didn't have a change of heart, but also understand, like, hey, this is someone who has a massive social media network. Use it. It's an asset. Use it. Why wouldn't you? Use it. And also, yeah, and then it, give it roots, because if it's all just like executive orders, that's vaporware that could evaporate with the next president. Give it financial roots. Make it so Amazon's new biggest profit margin is drone deliveries of diapers. Make it so Tesla's biggest profit item now are electric school buses and minivans. Make it so Facebook's biggest thing is like private photo albums that, these can't get burned in a house fire. They're stored here. Make it so they have an incentive. So when some communist shithead comes in and they go, "We're moving all this," now you've got trillions of dollars of corporations going, "New, we're lobbying for that." It doesn't matter if they're a true believer or not. If they're for the thing that's working, fucking take the win. So I think we're in agreement on that. But yo, dude, we're coming up on an hour. I have a ton of shit to do, so I do have to let you go. Um, but I'd love to have you on again here sometime, man. That was fun.
Yeah, dude, let's do it again. And yeah, dude, thanks for having me on. Thanks for inviting me. It's been
Yeah.
super fun, and
Yeah, dude.
I appreciate your perspectives, man.
Yeah, man. Thank you for coming on here. Keep sharing the schizo edits, guys. I highly recommend go give them a follow on Twitter. So, Christian, till next time, brother. Thank you so much, man.
Thank you, Tommy,
All right,
brother.
brother.